what do you call it when the royal family's biggest secret meeting isn't about who showed up, but about who got cut out? Because, make no mistake, this wasn't just tea between a father and a son. This was a power play behind palace walls, one that shook every headline and left the heir to the throne burning with fury. So picture it. Clarence House, London. No press cars lined up, no royal photographers tipped off, no carefully crafted family moment staged for the public. Just a single vehicle pulling in, doors clicking shut, and a man stepping out who hasn't crossed that threshold in over 19 months. Prince Harry, alone. No Meghan, no Netflix cameras, no fanfare. Just Harry walking inside to see King Charles in private. And here's the kicker. Prince William didn't even know it was happening. Not until the very last minute. For a family that thrives on protocol, coordination, and control, that wasn't just a scheduling oversight. That was a deliberate move. And it's the reason this quiet little tea meeting has detonated into one of the loudest scandals the monarchy has faced since Harry and Meghan walked away. Now, let's rewind for a second. 19 months. That's how long Charles and Harry hadn't seen each other face to face. Nearly 2 years of silence, distance, interviews, documentaries, and Harry's book. Nearly 2 years of throwing darts at the family that raised him. And then, suddenly, a private invitation back into the room. Except, this wasn't a warm reunion. No hugs on the palace lawn, no overnight stays at Windsor, just 55 minutes behind closed doors with tea on the table and tension in the air. That's not a family dinner. That's an interrogation with biscuits. Harry tried to play it cool afterward. A reporter shouted, "How's your father?" And he gave a quick, "Yeah, he's great." But if you think that's the whole story, think again. Because what insiders are leaking tells a completely different tale. According to palace sources, Charles had one absolute non-negotiable before this meeting could even happen. No cameras, none, no Netflix crew, no podcast microphones, not even Harry's phone in his pocket. And when it came to Harry's visit to the late Queen's grave, the same rule applied. He could go, but only alone. No sneaky footage for documentaries, no quiet audio clips for streaming specials. Nothing. And here's the brutal truth. When a king has to explicitly ban his own son from bringing cameras to a private conversation, something is already shattered beyond repair. That's not family trust. That's damage control. But let's talk about William. Because while Charles quietly greenlit this little tea session, William was completely frozen out. And if you believe the insiders, he wasn't just annoyed, he was livid. William has never forgiven Harry for what he sees as the ultimate betrayal, dragging their grandmother, the late Queen, into years of public stress with interviews, books, and Netflix content. William didn't want this meeting, period. And when he found out Charles went ahead without telling him, it was like ripping open an old wound. That's why many believe Charles didn't even ask for William's blessing. He knew the answer would be no. So instead, the king pulled rank, invited Harry in, and shut the door. He might have thought he was testing reconciliation. Instead, he may have just fractured the line of succession even further. Now, let's not pretend Camilla didn't have a role here. Sources say she quietly supported Charles's decision, not because she trusts Harry, but because she understands her husband still misses his son. But even she couldn't ignore the ripple effect this caused with William. As one palace aide put it bluntly, Charles may be testing reconciliation, but by freezing William out, he's created a whole new problem. And then there's Meghan. Even when she's not in the room, her shadow looms over everything. This time, she stayed back. No London appearances, no Invictus events. Depending on who you ask, it was either a smart strategic move or real proof that Harry was sent into battle solo. Either way, the symbolism was clear. This was Harry's test, not Meghan's. After tea, Harry went straight to his Invictus Games reception, smiling, posing, shaking hands, but behind the charm, cracks were showing. He arrived nearly 40 minutes late. Was it traffic? Maybe. Or maybe the emotional weight of sitting across from his father after 2 years was heavier than he let on, because behind the photos, that smile looked tight, almost strained. The kind of smile that says, "I'm holding it together, but barely." And here's what's even more explosive. Insiders say Harry walked into Clarence House with hope, maybe even a mental checklist, a role back in royal life, some kind of recognition for his children, a small opening for titles, housing, or an apology. Instead, he walked out with nothing. Just tea, conversation, and a clear message. The monarchy isn't bending. No royal duties. No titles for Archie or Lilibet. No public apology. Just a firm goodbye after 55 minutes. That hit harder than Harry expected, because for years he's been building this narrative, that one day maybe the family would see his side, admit their mistakes, and offer a way back. But what happened in that room? The opposite. The palace drew the line even darker. Charles may still love his son, but he's not willing to risk the institution for him. And if you want proof, look at how tightly controlled this entire meeting was. No leaks from Charles's side, no photos, no official statements. Even Harry's trip to his grandmother's grave was micromanaged with one rule: no cameras. That's how badly the king fears private moments being turned into public content. Because the truth is, he doesn't trust Harry anymore. Not after Oprah, not after Netflix, not after Spare. But whispers from inside the palace suggest there's one thing Charles does want: time with his grandchildren. He hasn't spent real time with Archie or Lilibet in years. Insiders say he still talks about their brief Jubilee visit, how much he loved it, how much he misses them. And quietly, some believe that longing is what pulled him to agree to see Harry again. But here's the complication. Meghan. Would she ever allow it? After everything that's happened, after every headline, would Meghan really send her kids back to London for a private royal moment she couldn't control? Unlikely. And if she came along herself, you can bet the cameras wouldn't be far behind. So this leaves Charles in a brutal bind. He wants his son and grandchildren back in some capacity, but he refuses to play by Hollywood's rules. He won't be content for streaming services. And unless Harry and Meghan are willing to leave the cameras at home, reconciliation may never happen. Meanwhile, William is fuming. To him, this wasn't just a meeting. It was betrayal. He thought Charles was in London for medical appointments, not private reconciliation attempts. He found out too late, and when he realised his opinion didn't matter, it cut deep. William has carried the weight of the crown in waiting, loyalty, duty, silence, while Harry turned family grievances into profit. And to be blindsided like this? To William, it was more than just disrespect. It was proof that his father didn't trust him to react calmly. And let's not forget the commentary from outside voices. Grant Harold, Charles's former butler, just announced in his upcoming book that Charles doesn't trust Harry anymore. And not because of one slip, but because of a pattern. Too many leaks, too many interviews, too many private moments turned into public spectacles. He even paints a picture of a once close father and son, sharing drinks and jokes, now ripped apart by distrust and influence. And he doesn't spare Meghan either, saying her arrival didn't cause the cracks, but turned them into chasms. So here we are, a king who wants peace, but only on his terms. A son who wants connection, but refuses to surrender his platform. an heir who feels betrayed and blindsided, and a duchess who knows every smile and handshake is potential content. That's the monarchy right now. A house that looks composed on the outside but trembles with fractures inside. And make no mistake, this wasn't just tea at Clarence House. This was a test, one that might have slammed the door shut permanently. And if you think this story is over, think again. Because in the royal world, silence is never the end. It's just the pause before the next explosion. Don't forget to hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories the palace wishes would stay hidden. Because in this family, the drama never ends. It just changes shape.